The massive Galactic Council station hung in space, like a giant metal flower, its silver petals catching the light from Kepler 442b's twin suns. Inside the central chamber, representatives from 47 different worlds sat in their specialized seats, breathing their own atmospheres and maintaining their preferred temperatures. The morning session had been peaceful until General Vexthai burst through the chamber doors. His crystalline exoskeleton crackled with electric fury as he stomped across the polished floor. Each step sent tiny sparks dancing around his feet. The Rigelian general was 7 feet tall with a body that looked like it was carved from living diamond, and right now that diamond was glowing angry red. He carried a datapad in his 4-fingered hands, gripping it so tightly that small cracks appeared in its surface. "These humans have committed the ultimate crime," Vexthai shouted, his voice box translator struggling to keep up with his rage. "They have stolen our children. They have taken our most precious gifts, and we demand justice." The chamber erupted into chaos. The bird-like Ethians squawked in alarm while the slug-like gastropods retreated into their shells. The Aquatic Council? Members sent bubbles racing through their water tubes in distress. Only the human delegation remained calm at their table near the back of the chamber. Ambassador Kang Dae-ho sat perfectly still in his simple black suit. His face showed no emotion as the accusations flew around him. To his left sat Park Ji-woo, a young woman with short black hair who served as his aide. She took notes on a small tablet, her fingers moving steadily across the surface. On Kang's right was Commander Lee Hyun-woo, a military man in a dark blue uniform with silver stripes on his shoulders. All three humans watched the chaos with the same calm expression. General Vexthai slammed his datapad onto the central council table. The holographic display above the table flickered to life, showing images that made the entire chamber fall silent. Surveillance footage played, showing human ships near Rigelian worlds. Energy signatures appeared on screen that matched human technology. Most damning of all were the testimonies from Rigelian parents who spoke of empty nurseries and missing young. 57 larvae have vanished, Vexthai declared, his crystal body now glowing bright white with fury. 57 of our precious, young ones, gone without a trace, all disappeared from worlds where human vessels were detected. This is not coincidence. This is war. The holographic display changed to show maps of Rigelian space. Red dots marked the locations where children had vanished. Green lines showed the paths of human ships in those same areas. The pattern was clear and terrifying. Wherever humans had traveled, Rigelian young had disappeared. President Oceanus, an ancient whale-like being from the water worlds, raised one massive flipper for silence. His voice rumbled through the chamber like distant thunder. "These are serious accusations, General Vexthai. Do you have direct evidence of human involvement?" "Look at the data," Vexthai responded, gesturing at the holographic display. "Human, ships, human technology signatures, human timing. What more evidence do you need? They came to our worlds in the darkness, and they took our babies." Ambassador Kang finally stood up. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes that had seen many years of diplomatic service. When he spoke, his voice was steady and calm. "General Vexthai, I understand your pain and anger. As a father myself, I cannot imagine the horror of losing a child. However, I must categorically deny these accusations on behalf of Earth and all human colonies." "Deny all you want," Vexthai shot back. "The evidence speaks louder than your words, human." The chamber buzzed with whispered conversations as different species began choosing sides. The militant Caraxians immediately supported the Rigelians, their war paint gleaming as they nodded agreement. The peaceful Verdanian plant beings called for calm and investigation. The machine intelligence synthetics processed the data with cold logic, their optical sensors whirring as they analyzed the evidence. Commander Lee leaned forward slightly. His voice was quiet but carried clearly through the chamber. "General, with respect, correlation does not prove causation. Human ships travel through many systems for trade and exploration. The presence of our vessels does not automatically make us responsible for these disappearances." "Your ships were cloaked," Vexthai accused. "Why hide if you have nothing to conceal? Honest traders do not skulk in the shadows." Park Ji-woo looked up from her tablet. "General, perhaps you could explain the exact nature of these disappearances. Were there signs of struggle?" Were the nursery facilities damaged? Were there any witnesses? Vexthai's crystal body flickered between red and white as his anger mixed with confusion. The children simply vanished. No damage, no signs of forced entry, no witnesses. They were there one day and gone the next, as if they had never existed at all. This information caused a stir among the council members. The Shadows, a species that existed partially outside normal space-time, whispered among themselves in voices that sounded like wind through caves. The empathic Deltarians, who could sense emotions across vast distances, began to look troubled as they picked up something from the assembled minds. Ambassador Kang requested permission to speak again. Honored members of the Council, my government has full records of all human ship movements in Rigelian space. We are prepared to share this information completely and transparently. If any human vessel or personnel is found to be responsible for these disappearances, we will cooperate fully with any investigation and punishment. Words, Vexthai spat. Nothing but words and false promises. Then let us move beyond words, Kang replied calmly. I propose a joint investigation team. Representatives from the Council, from the Rigelian Empire, and from Earth. Let us examine the evidence together and discover the truth, whatever that truth might be. President Oceanus considered this proposal. His ancient mind had seen many conflicts arise from misunderstandings and false accusations. General Vexthai, would the Rigelian Empire accept such an investigation? The Crystal General's body dimmed as he thought. His people were warriors, but they were not unreasonable. The idea of humans examining Rigelian nurseries made his exoskeleton crawl with disgust, but it might be the only way to prove their guilt and demand justice. We will allow this investigation, but only if it is conducted quickly. Every day that passes is another day our children remain missing. And if the investigation clears humanity of wrongdoing, President Oceanus asked, will the Rigelian Empire accept those findings? Vexthai's silence stretched for long moments. Finally, he gave a sharp nod. If the evidence truly clears them, then we will look elsewhere for answers. But I warn you all, if humans are found guilty, the Rigelian Empire will consider this an act of war against all our people. The chamber fell quiet as the weight of his words settled over everyone. War between humans and Rigelians would draw in their respective allies and could tear the galaxy apart. The Coraxians would support the Rigelians, while the Terran Trade Federation would back humanity. Other species would be forced to choose sides or face the consequences of neutrality. Ambassador Kang seemed untroubled by the threat. We welcome this investigation, General. Truth has nothing to fear from examination. President Oceanus appointed investigator Zephyra from the Andromedian Republic to lead the joint team. The Andromedians were known for their methodical approach and complete impartiality. Zephyra was a tall, thin being with pale blue skin and large black eyes that missed nothing. She had solved dozens of interspecies disputes and was respected throughout the galaxy for her fairness. The investigation will begin immediately, Zephyra announced in her precise, emotionless voice. General Vexthai will provide access to all affected worlds and facilities. Ambassador Kang will provide complete records of human activities in those regions. I will examine all evidence without prejudice and report my findings to this council within 7 standard days. As the emergency session ended, the various species filed out of the chamber in small groups, their conversations hushed but intense. The humans remained at their table until the chamber was nearly empty. Only then did Park Jiwoo speak quietly to her companions. The timing of this accusation troubles me, she said. Why now, when tensions between various species are already high? Commander Lee nodded grimly. And the complete lack of evidence beyond circumstantial patterns. In my experience, when children disappear without a trace, the truth is usually far stranger than simple kidnapping. Ambassador Kang gathered his papers slowly. Whatever the truth is, we will face it honestly. But I fear this investigation will uncover something far more dangerous than diplomatic tensions. Something that will challenge everything we thought we knew about the galaxy. The 3 humans left the chamber together, unaware that in the shadows behind them, other eyes watched their departure with great interest. Forces were already moving that would make the current crisis seem small by comparison. 3 days after the emergency council session, the investigation team gathered aboard the council vessel Harmony's Edge. The ship was designed for diplomatic missions with quarters that could accommodate any known species. Its neutral gray corridors hummed with translation equipment and environmental controls that kept everyone comfortable. Investigator Zephyra stood in the main conference room reviewing holographic star charts. Her pale blue fingers traced routes between Rigelian worlds, while her large black eyes processed information at superhuman speed. The Andromedian's thin body never seemed to tire, and she had been working non-stop since accepting the assignment. General Vexathai paced near the viewport, his crystal body catching the light from nearby stars. Every few moments he would stop and stare out at the darkness of space, thinking about the missing children. His species valued their young above all else, and the thought of 57 larvae in unknown hands made his exoskeleton glow with barely controlled rage. Ambassador Kang sat calmly at the conference table reading reports on his tablet. Beside him were 2 additional humans who had joined the investigation team. Dr. Kim So-min was a xenobiologist from Earth's Institute of Alien Studies. She was a small woman with intelligent brown eyes and graying hair pulled back in a practical bun. Captain Choi Min-ho specialized in interspecies relations and had served on first contact missions for over 20 years. He was younger than the ambassador with an easy smile that had helped him negotiate peaceful solutions to dozens of potential conflicts. "Our first destination is HFY colony," Zephyra announced without looking up from her charts. "The most recent disappearances occurred there just 6 days ago. The crime scene, if it can be called that, should still be relatively fresh." Dr. Kim activated her own holographic display showing biological data about Rigelian reproduction. "General, could you explain the development cycle of your larvae? I want to understand exactly what we're looking for." Vexthai's crystal body dimmed with grief as he spoke. "Our young begin as tiny organisms, barely visible to most species. They develop in communal pools of nutrient fluid deep underground. The larvae are defenseless for the first 3 years of life, completely dependent on the colony for survival. That is why these disappearances are so devastating. Our children cannot survive without constant care." Captain Choi leaned forward with interest. "How many larvae typically develop in each facility?" "Thousands," Vexthai replied. "Our species has large broods. A single facility might house 10,000 developing young at various stages. The missing 57 represent multiple facilities across 4 different worlds." The ship's communication system chimed, and the captain's voice filled the room. "Approaching HFY colony. Prepare for orbital insertion." Through the viewport, the planet grew larger as they descended. HFY was a harsh world of red rock and thin atmosphere. The Rigelian colony was built underground to protect the population from radiation and temperature extremes. From space, only small surface installations marked the location of the vast underground city. Their shuttle landed at the primary spaceport, a simple platform carved into the rock face. General Vexthai led them through airlock tunnels that descended deep into the planet's crust. The walls were lined with the same crystal material as Rigelian exoskeletons, giving off a soft blue glow that provided light for the passages. "Our nursery facilities are located in the deepest levels," Vexthai explained as they walked. "The constant temperature and protection from surface radiation create perfect conditions for larval development." Dr. Kim checked her scanner readings as they descended. "The atmospheric composition is fascinating. The high mineral content in the air must be essential for your young to develop properly." The nursery level was vast, with corridors stretching in all directions. The walls curved gracefully, following natural rock formations. Every surface hummed with quiet energy as environmental systems maintained perfect conditions for the developing larvae. The team followed Vexthai to Nursery Complex 7, where the most recent disappearances had occurred. The chamber they entered took everyone's breath away. Hundreds of pools filled the space, each one glowing with soft bioluminescent light. The pools contained clear nutrient fluid that sparkled like liquid diamonds. In most pools, thousands of tiny larvae could be seen swimming in lazy circles, their translucent bodies barely larger than Earth insects. But some pools were empty. 12 pools were affected, Vexthai said, his voice heavy with sorrow. Over 3,000 larvae vanished in a single night. The caretakers found the pools empty when they came for the morning feeding. Captain Choi knelt beside one of the empty pools and examined the rim carefully. No signs of damage or forced entry. The pool systems are still functioning normally. Whatever happened here was done with incredible precision. Dr. Kim activated her scanner and began taking readings from the empty pools. The device beeped softly as it analyzed residual biological traces and energy signatures. "This is strange," she murmured. "I'm detecting trace elements that don't match Rigelian biology. Something else was in these pools recently." Zephyra moved methodically around the chamber, her sensitive Andromedian equipment recording everything. Her species had evolved to notice patterns that other beings missed, and she was already beginning to see connections in the data. "General, have there been any other unusual incidents recently? Changes in local wildlife, equipment malfunctions, anything out of the ordinary?" Vexthai considered the question. "Nothing significant. Some of the maintenance staff mentioned that the cleaning beetles have been acting strangely, but those creatures are hardly important." "What kind of strange behavior?" Dr. Kim asked, suddenly very interested. A young Rigelian caretaker named Velis had been standing quietly in the corner. She stepped forward nervously, her smaller crystal body flickering with uncertainty. "The beetles have been gathering in large groups near the nurseries. Usually they work alone, but lately we've seen swarms of them moving together. Then they disappear for days at a time." Captain Choi and Dr. Kim exchanged glances. In their experience, changes in animal behavior often indicated environmental threats that more advanced species might miss. "Could you show us where these beetle swarms have been gathering?" Captain Choi asked. Velis led them through several corridors to a maintenance area where waste from the nurseries was processed. The chamber was filled with organic recycling equipment that broke down biological waste and converted it into useful materials. Dr. Kim's scanner immediately began beeping rapidly. "The energy signature is much stronger here," she reported. "Whatever left traces in the nursery pools spent significant time in this area." Zephyra examined the recycling equipment with her precision instruments. "These readings indicate the presence of unknown technology. The energy patterns don't match any known species in the galactic database." Over the next 3 days, the investigation team visited the other affected colonies. At each location, they found the same disturbing pattern. Empty nursery pools with no signs of damage or struggle, trace elements from unknown sources, reports of unusual behavior from local scavenger creatures, and always that strange energy signature that didn't match any known technology. On Rigel 7, they made their most significant discovery yet. Dr. Kim's long-range biological scanner detected massive underground movement in areas that should have been solid rock. Something was tunneling through the planet's crust, following paths that connected all the affected nursery facilities. "This changes everything," Captain Choi said as he studied the scanner data. "We're not dealing with surface, raids, or simple kidnapping. Something is moving through these worlds at a level that your people never even knew existed." General Vexthai stared at the scanner readings in confusion. "But that's impossible. Our geological surveys show solid rock for kilometers below the nursery levels. There are no natural caves or passages that could support such movement." Zephyra's analytical mind was already processing the implications. "Unless whatever is creating these tunnels doesn't rely on natural formations. The energy signatures suggest technology that can alter matter at the molecular level." Dr. Kim made another disturbing discovery when she analyzed soil samples from areas where the strange beetle swarms had been most active. "The mineral composition has been changed," she reported. "Something has been extracting specific elements from the rock and soil, elements that are crucial for Rigelian larval development." The team established a temporary camp on the surface of Rigel 7 that night. As the planet's 3 moons rose over the horizon, Dr. Kim continued her scans of the underground tunnel network. What she found made her call the others urgently to her equipment station. "The movement down there isn't random," she announced, pointing at her display. "The tunnels follow a specific pattern, connecting not just the nursery facilities but also geological formations rich in the minerals that were extracted from the soil samples." Captain Choi studied the pattern with growing alarm. "It looks almost like a mining operation, but why would anyone need both Rigelian larvae and these specific minerals?" Zephra's black eyes reflected the moonlight as she processed this new information. I believe we need to consider the possibility that the larvae weren't taken for their own sake. The glowing section of rock cracked open like an egg, releasing a wave of putrid air that made everyone except General Vexthai step backward. Steam poured from the opening, carrying with it the smell of decay and something else, something alien and wrong. Dr. Kim's scanner went wild, beeping frantically as it tried to process readings that exceeded its normal parameters. By the ancient crystals, Vexthai whispered, his usual anger replaced by horror. What is that smell? Through the crack in the rock, they could see the opening of a tunnel that descended into absolute darkness. The walls of the passage pulsed, with a sickly bioluminescent glow that hurt to look at directly. The light seemed to move in patterns that suggested intelligence, as if the tunnel itself was somehow alive. Captain Choi activated his portable lighting system and stepped cautiously toward the opening. The tunnel appears to be artificially created, but not by any technology I recognize. The walls have an organic quality, almost like living tissue. Zephra approached with her scanning equipment, her Andromedian senses already detecting patterns in the alien environment. The energy readings from inside the tunnel are unlike anything in our databases. Whatever created this passage operates on principles we don't understand. Dr. Kim joined them at the tunnel entrance, her scientific curiosity overcoming her natural caution. The bioluminescence appears to be some form of communication system. See how the light pulses move in waves down the tunnel. It's almost like neural activity in a massive brain. General Vexthai's crystal body flickered between different colors as he struggled with conflicting emotions. His warrior training demanded that he charge into the tunnel and face whatever had taken his people's children. But his tactical experience warned him that they were dealing with something far beyond normal military threats. We must go down there, he finally declared. My people's young may still be alive somewhere in those passages. Captain Choi checked his equipment and signaled their ship for backup support. We'll proceed carefully. Everyone stays together and we retreat at the first sign of immediate danger. The team began their descent into the tunnel, following the pulsing lights deeper into the planet's crust. The passage sloped downward at a gentle angle, but the sensation of depth was overwhelming. After 20 minutes of walking, Dr. Kim's instruments indicated they were nearly a kilometer below the surface. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber that defied comprehension. The space was enormous, easily the size of a major city, with a ceiling that disappeared into darkness above. The walls were covered in the same pulsing bioluminescent material, creating patterns of light that hurt to follow with the eyes. But it was the contents of the chamber that made everyone freeze in terror. Hundreds of cocoons hung from the walls and ceiling, each one roughly the size of a Rigelian adult. The cocoons were translucent, allowing glimpses of the shapes moving. Inside, Dr. Kim's scanner confirmed what they all feared to believe. The cocoons contained Rigelian larvae, but they were changing, transforming into something else entirely. My children, Vexthai breathed, his crystal body dimming with grief. What have they done to my children? Zephra moved efficiently through the chamber, scanning cocoons and taking readings from the alien technology that surrounded them. Her analytical mind processed the horror with typical Andromedian objectivity. The larvae are being subjected to some form of biological transformation. Their genetic structure is being altered at the cellular level. Dr. Kim approached one of the lower cocoons and examined it closely through her scanner. What she saw made her step back in shock. This isn't random mutation. The transformation is being guided by an external intelligence. The larvae are being converted into hybrid organisms that combine Rigelian biology with something else. Captain Choi studied the chamber's layout, looking for clues about the purpose behind this nightmare. Near the center of the space, he found what appeared to be a control system. The device was grown rather than built, with organic surfaces covered in neural pathways that pulsed with data flows. I think this entire chamber is some kind of biological factory, he reported. The cocoons are production units, and that central structure appears to be the processing center. As they explored further, they discovered additional chambers connected by more organic tunnels. Each chamber contained cocoons, but the contents varied. Some held Rigelian larvae in early stages of transformation. Others contained creatures that were almost fully converted. Their Rigelian features combined with alien characteristics that suggested incredible intelligence and capability. In the deepest chamber, they found the source of the transformation process. Ancient machines, if they could be called machines, lined the walls. These devices were clearly alive, their surfaces breathing and pulsing with organic rhythms. Dr. Kim's readings indicated that the technology was millions of years old, far predating any known civilization in the galaxy. "These aren't just parasites," she announced with growing horror. "They're the remnants of an ancient species that once dominated this region of space. They reproduce by taking the young of other races and converting them into extensions of their own consciousness." Zephyra discovered additional data storage systems throughout the chamber. The information was encoded in biological patterns rather than electronic formats, but her equipment could translate the basic concepts. According to these records, this species called themselves the Metamorphs. They conquered dozens of civilizations by infiltrating their nurseries and converting their young. General Vexthai approached one of the nearly completed cocoons with his weapon raised. Through the translucent membrane, he could see a creature that retained Rigelian features, but had been altered in fundamental ways. The being's crystal exoskeleton was shot through with alien neural pathways, and its eyes glowed with an intelligence that was no longer entirely Rigelian. "They're still conscious," he realized with mounting horror. "My people's children are aware of what's happening to them." Captain Choi made a discovery that explained the strange energy signatures they had been tracking. "The human ships weren't following the disappearances. We were tracking something else entirely. Earth's deep space monitoring stations detected quantum resonance patterns from this region months ago." Dr. Kim looked up from her analysis of the ancient technology. "Quantum resonance patterns. That's exactly what these transformation devices generate. Your government knew something was wrong here." "We suspected an unknown threat," Captain Choi admitted. "But we needed confirmation before taking action. The political situation in the galaxy is too unstable for humans to act unilaterally without absolute proof." Zephyra had been monitoring the chamber's communication systems, and her readings suddenly changed dramatically. "The transformation process is accelerating. These devices have detected our presence and are moving to complete the conversion of all remaining larvae." Around them, the cocoons began pulsing more rapidly. The lights in the chamber grew brighter as the ancient machinery increased its activity. Several of the completed cocoons started to crack open, revealing the transformed creatures inside. The first being to emerge was barely recognizable as having once been Rigelian. Its crystal body was shot through with organic neural networks that connected it to the chamber's central intelligence. When it spoke, its voice was a harmony of sounds that bypassed normal translation systems and spoke directly to their minds. "You have discovered our nursery," the creature said without moving its mouth. "You understand now that your young ones are not lost. They have been elevated, transformed into something greater than they could ever have become alone. General." Vexthai raised his weapon but found himself unable to fire. Something about the creature's presence made violence seem impossible. "Give them back," he demanded. "Return our children to us." "They are still your children," the creature replied. "But now they are also our children. They carry the memories and knowledge of a civilization that ruled the stars when your species was still evolving from crystal formations." Dr. Kim stepped forward, her scientific mind struggling to process what she was witnessing. "How long have you been doing this? How many species have you converted?" "Time has little meaning for us," the creature answered. "We have slept in the deep places of many worlds, waiting for suitable hosts to develop. Your larvae are particularly compatible with our enhancement processes." More cocoons began opening around them. Each transformed being that emerged added its voice to the growing chorus. The chamber filled with harmonious alien communication that spoke of memories spanning millions of years and knowledge that covered entire galaxies. Captain Choi realized the true scope of what they were facing. "This isn't just happening on Rigelian worlds. You've been infiltrating nurseries across the galaxy." "Indeed," the collective voice confirmed. "The young of many species now carry our consciousness forward into the future. We are ensuring that intelligence and knowledge survive the eventual heat death of the universe." Zephyra's equipment detected additional tunnel networks opening throughout the chamber. More transformed beings were approaching from deeper levels of the complex. "We need to leave immediately," she announced. "This facility is much larger than we initially detected." But as they turned to retreat, the escape from the underground chambers had been harrowing. The transformed beings did not pursue them aggressively, but they made it clear that leaving was only possible because they chose to allow it. As the investigation team fled through the organic tunnels, they could hear the harmonic voices behind them discussing their fate in languages that predated galactic civilization. Back aboard the Harmony's Edge, the political situation had exploded into chaos. When General Vexthai transmitted their initial findings to the Galactic Council, the response was immediate and devastating. Half the species' representatives refused to believe that ancient parasites were responsible for the disappearances. The other half began mobilizing their military forces for what they assumed was an inevitable war. Ambassador Kang sat in the ship's communications center, watching as his diplomatic career crumbled in real time. The holographic displays showed fleet movements throughout the galaxy as various species chose sides in the coming conflict. The hegemony of Tau Ceti had already accused humanity and the Regelians of fabricating the entire story to justify a secret weapons program. "They think we're lying," Park Ji-woo reported as she monitored diplomatic channels. "The Coraxians are moving 3 battle fleets toward human space. The Verdanians are demanding immediate sanctions against both our species." Commander Lee studied tactical displays showing the positions of military forces throughout known space. "Even our allies are beginning to doubt us. The Terran Trade Federation is asking for independent verification of our claims before they commit to supporting us." Dr. Kim continued analyzing the biological samples they had gathered from the metamorph facility. Her findings were terrifying in their implications. "The transformation process isn't limited to Rigelian biology. I've found genetic markers that suggest these parasites can adapt to any carbon-based life form. Every species in the galaxy is potentially vulnerable." Captain Choi had been monitoring communication intercepts from various military commands. The cetaceans are reporting missing spawn from their deep ocean nurseries. The lithoids have discovered empty crystal formation chambers on 3 of their worlds. This is happening everywhere, but most species are blaming pirates or rival governments. Zephyra worked methodically through the data they had gathered, her Andromedian mind processing patterns that others might miss. "The scope of the infestation is far greater than anyone realizes. Based on the tunnel networks we discovered, I estimate that hundreds of worlds may be affected." General Vexthai paced the conference room like a caged predator. His crystal body flickered between rage and despair as he contemplated the fate of his people's young. "While we debate and argue, more children disappear every day. The Council must act, regardless of their doubts about our findings." Ambassador Kang made a decision that would define humanity's place in the galaxy forever. He activated a secure communication channel that bypassed normal diplomatic protocols and connected directly to Earth's highest military command. "This is Ambassador Kang, requesting immediate contact with the Colonial Defense Authority. Authorization, code Omega-77. The response came within minutes. Admiral Park Sung-min appeared on the holographic display, his weathered face showing the strain of recent events. Behind him, the command center of Earth's primary military station buzzed with activity. "Ambassador, we've been monitoring the situation. The political implications are serious, but we're more concerned about the biological threat you've discovered." "Admiral, I'm requesting permission to reveal classified information about human defensive capabilities. The galaxy needs to understand what we're truly facing here." Admiral Park considered this request carefully. Revealing humanity's secret military preparations would change galactic politics forever. But the alternative might be the extinction of all intelligent life. "Permission granted, Ambassador. Tell them everything." Over the next several hours, Ambassador Kang shared information that shocked even his own team members. Humanity had not been passively exploring the galaxy for the past century. Earth's scientists and military planners had been actively preparing for exactly this kind of threat. When humans first encountered alien life, Kang explained to the assembled investigation team, "Our governments realized that the universe was far more dangerous than we had imagined. We began developing defensive technologies specifically designed to combat unknown biological and quantum threats." Dr. Kim stared at the classified files that Kang was showing them. "These bioweapon systems are decades ahead of anything I've seen in civilian research. How long has Earth been preparing for a crisis like this? Since first contact with the Ethians 60 years ago, Kang replied. Our xenobiologists immediately recognized that any species capable of interstellar travel might also be capable of biological warfare on a scale we had never imagined. Captain Choi revealed additional classified information about human military capabilities. The ships that General Vexthai detected in Rigelian space weren't trade vessels. They were reconnaissance platforms from the Human Emergency Response Fleet. We've been monitoring quantum signatures throughout the galaxy, looking for exactly the kind of anomalies that the metamorphs generate. Commander Lee activated holographic displays, showing star charts that had never been seen outside Earth's military command centers. Human deep space monitoring stations have been tracking unusual energy patterns for months. We knew something was affecting multiple species, but we couldn't act without proof. General Vexthai's crystal body blazed with new understanding. Your people have been preparing to fight this threat all along. Why didn't you warn the rest of the galaxy? Because most species would have seen such warnings as human fear-mongering or attempts to justify military expansion, Kang replied. Honestly, the political situation in the galaxy is too fragile for humanity to make extraordinary claims without extraordinary evidence. Dr. Kim made a breakthrough in her analysis of the metamorph biological samples. The transformation process has a weakness. The parasites are vulnerable to specific quantum resonance frequencies combined with targeted bioweapons, but the window for intervention is very narrow. Once the transformation is complete, reversal becomes impossible. This information changed everything. Captain Choi immediately contacted the Human Emergency Response Fleet to request technical specifications for the experimental weapons that Earth had developed. If we can identify the exact frequencies needed to disrupt the transformation process, we might be able to save the converted children. Admiral Park transmitted additional classified data showing the true extent of human military preparation. The Emergency Response Fleet consists of 47 vessels equipped with quantum disruptors and biological warfare systems. These ships have been stationed in dark space around the galaxy, ready to respond to exactly this kind of threat. The revelation of humanity's secret fleet caused immediate political reactions throughout the galaxy. Some species saw it as evidence of human duplicity and aggressive intentions. Others began to realize that humanity might be their only hope for survival against the metamorph threat. Zephyra processed the new information with typical Andromedan efficiency. The human preparations appear to be specifically designed to counter the biological and quantum characteristics of the metamorph technology. This suggests either remarkable foresight or prior knowledge of similar threats. Both, Kang admitted. Earth's archives contain fragmentary records of ancient civilizations that vanished without explanation. Our scientists theorized that biological transformation might be a common method for aggressive species to eliminate potential competitors. Reports began flooding in from across the galaxy as other species started investigating their own missing young. The aquatic cetaceans discovered that their spawn had been disappearing from deep ocean trenches for over a year. The energy-based plasmoids found that young stars in their nursery systems were dimming unexpectedly. Even the machine intelligence, synthetics reported that newly constructed AI units were developing unauthorized modifications to their core programming. General Vexthai faced the most difficult decision of his military career. His people had accused humanity of stealing their children, but now they needed human help to save those same children from a threat far worse than simple kidnapping. Ambassador Kang, on behalf of the Rigelian Empire, I formally request human military intervention in our space. General, such intervention would require approval from the Galactic Council. Many species still believe we're responsible for the original disappearances. Then we will make them understand, Vexthai declared. The evidence is clear. These metamorphs threaten every intelligent species in the galaxy. Political differences become meaningless when faced with extinction. Dr. Kim made another crucial discovery in her biological analysis. The transformation process isn't random. The metamorphs are specifically targeting the most genetically diverse and intellectually capable young from each species. They're creating an army of enhanced beings that combine the best characteristics of every intelligent race. Captain Choi realized the strategic implications. If they succeed in transforming enough individuals, they'll have access to the combined knowledge and capabilities of every major civilization. The human emergency response fleet emerged from dark space, like ghosts materializing from the void. 47 vessels that had been hidden in the spaces between stars suddenly appeared throughout the galaxy, their exotic hull configurations, unlike anything other species had ever seen. These ships didn't follow conventional design principles. They seemed to bend light around their surfaces, making them difficult to target or even observe directly. Admiral Park Sung-min commanded the operation from the flagship Earth's Defiance, a vessel that appeared to exist partially outside normal space-time. From his command center, he could coordinate with human forces across multiple star systems while maintaining instantaneous communication through quantum entanglement networks that bypassed conventional physics. All units report ready status, came the reports from fleet commanders throughout the galaxy. Quantum disruptors are charged and biological warfare systems are online. Ambassador Kang stood on the bridge beside the Admiral, watching as tactical displays showed the locations of confirmed metamorph installations. The scope of the infestation was staggering. Over 200 worlds showed signs of underground facility networks, and the transformation process was accelerating rapidly. The Galactic Council has finally voted to authorize joint military action, Kang reported. General Vexitai's testimony about the underground facilities convinced even the most skeptical species representatives. Dr. Kim worked frantically at her mobile laboratory, analyzing biological samples and refining the quantum frequency patterns needed to disrupt the metamorph transformation process. I've identified 17 specific resonance frequencies that can separate the parasitic consciousness from host organisms. But the timing has to be perfect. Too early, and the process simply resumes. Too late, and the integration becomes permanent. Captain. Choi coordinated with alien military forces throughout the galaxy, teaching them to recognize and exploit metamorph weaknesses. Most species had never encountered an enemy that operated on both biological and quantum levels simultaneously. The key is environmental disruption, he explained to Coraxian battle commanders. The parasites evolved in stable planetary core conditions. Rapid changes in temperature, pressure, or electromagnetic fields cause their collective consciousness to fragment. The first major engagement occurred in the Rigel system, where General Vextai led a combined force of Rigelian warriors and human technicians into the deep facility networks. The human soldiers wore armor that seemed to phase in and out of reality, making them nearly impossible for the transformed beings to target effectively. Entering primary hive chamber, reported Commander Lee as his team descended through organic tunnels, detecting over 3,000 cocoons in various stages of transformation. Dr. Kim monitored the operation from the flagship, directing the deployment of quantum resonance generators throughout the facility. Remember, the frequency patterns must be synchronized across all chambers simultaneously. If even one section remains active, the entire network can regenerate. The battle for the Rigelian facilities revealed the true extent of human military capabilities. Their weapons didn't simply destroy the metamorph technology. They rewrote the fundamental physical laws that allowed the ancient parasites to exist. Reality itself became a weapon in human hands. Biological warfare systems are showing remarkable effectiveness, Admiral Park reported to the Joint Command Center. The metamorph consciousness cannot adapt to weapons that attack them on a quantum level. But the aliens discovered that humans had prepared for this conflict in ways that shocked even their allies. Human bioweapons were specifically designed to target parasitic organisms without harming the host species. Quantum disruptors could separate alien consciousness from converted individuals while leaving their original personalities intact. Captain Choi led rescue operations into the deepest chambers where the most advanced transformations were taking place. The conversion process is more sophisticated than we initially realized. The parasites don't just control their hosts, they enhance them, giving them capabilities that exceed normal biological limits. Some of the rescued Rigelian young retained memories and abilities from their partial transformation. They could process information at superhuman speeds and demonstrated knowledge of technologies that their species had never developed. Dr. Kim realized that the rescue operation was creating a new category of enhanced beings, the partially transformed. Individuals aren't returning to their original state, she reported with growing excitement. They're retaining beneficial modifications while losing the parasitic control systems. We may have accidentally discovered a way to enhance organic intelligence without sacrificing individual consciousness. The operation expanded to cover hundreds of worlds as reports came in of successful facility raids throughout the galaxy. Human ships worked alongside alien military forces, their exotic technologies proving decisive in battles against creatures that had conquered civilizations for millions of years. General Vexthai fought beside human soldiers in the deepest chambers, his crystal body blazing with combat energy as they broke open cocoons and freed transformed children. "Your people fight like demons," he told Commander Lee as they cleared another chamber. "But demons fighting for salvation, rather than destruction." The breakthrough came when Dr. Kim identified the location of the primary hive, a massive facility, hidden in the core of a dead star system where the original metamorph consciousness had been sleeping for eons. "This is their central nervous system," she announced. "If we can disrupt the primary hive, the entire network should collapse." Admiral Park led the assault on the primary hive personally. The facility was the size of a small moon, built into the core of a collapsed star where the extreme gravitational forces provided perfect stability for the ancient consciousness. The human fleet used gravitational manipulation technology to approach the facility, their ships riding waves of distorted space-time. The primary hive contains the accumulated knowledge and memories of every civilization the metamorphs have ever converted, Dr. Kim reported as they approached. "We're not just fighting a parasitic species. We're facing the collective intelligence of entire galactic empires. The final battle revealed humanity's ultimate weapon against the metamorph threat." Human scientists had developed a quantum virus that could spread through the parasitic network, causing their collective consciousness to fragment into isolated individual minds. The virus didn't destroy the metamorphs. It forced them to experience individual existence for the first time in millions of years. "Deploy the consciousness fragmentation virus," Admiral Park ordered as human ships surrounded the primary hive. "Target the central neural networks and let the quantum cascade do the rest." The effect was immediate and devastating. Throughout the galaxy, metamorph facilities began shutting down as their controlling consciousness split into billions of separate entities. The ancient parasites, which had existed as a unified collective for eons, suddenly found themselves experiencing loneliness, fear, and individual mortality. Dr. Kim monitored the collapse of the metamorph network from her laboratory. The fragmentation is cascading through every facility simultaneously. The collective consciousness is dissolving into individual components that can no longer maintain the transformation processes. Across hundreds of worlds, the rescued young began emerging from their cocoons as the parasitic control systems failed. But many retained the beneficial enhancements they had received, creating a new generation of beings with capabilities that exceeded their original species' limitations. The transformation process wasn't entirely destructive, Captain Choi observed, as he watched Rigelian larvae emerge with enhanced intelligence and sensory capabilities. The metamorphs were actually improving their hosts, just forcing them to serve alien purposes. General Vexthai held one of his people's rescued young, marveling at the child's enhanced crystal structure and obvious intelligence improvements. "They gave our children gifts even as they stole their freedom. Perhaps something good can come from this horror after all." The aftermath of the operation transformed galactic politics forever. Humanity had revealed capabilities that placed them among the most advanced civilizations in known space. But rather than using this revelation to dominate other species, humans offered to share their technologies for defensive purposes. "The Galactic Defense Initiative will be a joint organization," Ambassador Kang announced to the assembled council. "Human technology combined with the diverse capabilities of all member species. We've learned that threats like the metamorphs require cooperation on a scale we've never achieved before." Dr. Kim was appointed as the first director of xenobiological security, tasked with identifying and preparing defenses against similar threats. "The universe is vast and old," she told her assembled team of researchers from dozens of species. "The metamorphs were just one example of what's waiting out there in the dark between stars." Captain Choi became the head of interspecies military. Cooperation, working to integrate human defensive technologies with the military forces of allied species. "We've shown that unity and preparation can defeat even ancient evils, but we must remain vigilant.